Hello class. So this is a series of video and audio files that go along with our lab for creating a presentation in Google Slides. Normally I would be doing the Google Slides in class, and as you ran into problems or had questions, I'd be able to come over and hover over your shoulder and point to what you needed to be able to do. With an online class, obviously that's not going to be possible anymore. So the solution I came up with was to take the lab and sit down, capture my screen, capture my explanations, and create the files and upload them to our Google Classroom. This means that when you go through the labs, if you run into a problem with a certain step, you can go back, find the file that covers the steps that you're on, so that you can see what I've done, how I got there, and maybe what some of my instructions in the lab mean for you to do. So this is the very first video, and I'm going to use it to introduce the structure of this lab. So this is the lab for creating a presentation in Google Slides. I created this to try and step everybody through the process of creating slides. And it starts off with a table of contents, and you'll be able to use this when you're done with creating your very first presentation. You'll be able to use this as reference in the future. It'll tell you exactly how to add a shape to your slide, change your text color. If you don't remember how to do the steps in the future, you can come back to this lab, find the exact item that you want to do, and then you can just go straight to that page and do it again. So the table of contents is really helpful for the future, especially if you want to remember how you did certain things. So in the very beginning, I have some keynotes. Remember, I've taught you in class that the undo button is your friend. If you make any kind of mistakes, just hit the undo button, and it will undo each step back to its original memory. So if you've done 5 or 6 things that you're realizing you don't want to keep, just hit that undo button 5 or 6 times and it'll go back to where you were before you made those changes. And if you are trying to decide whether you like a particular format, you can make the change, hit undo, think about it a little bit, then hit redo, and it'll put the change back in. And you can just go back and forth until you decide which option you like. So you can undo things, you can put them back in, you can play with them and decide how you want your slides, your text, your pictures to look. The paint format button, remember I told you that this guy is a little superhero? This is really useful for any time you've already done a whole bunch of changes to an item. Like maybe you've done your text and you've made it bold and italics and bigger size and red, and you want to do that for all of your headers, and you don't want to have to constantly make 5 or 6 changes for every line. What you do is you click inside the line that you like, then you go up to the Format Painter button, and then you go back to the thing that you now want to change just like the first thing, and then you highlight it, and then all of the changes that you did with 5 or 6 steps are now done in one step. So the Format Painter is awesome. And I will use it a few times up in this lesson, just so that you can see how it's used live. Now you'll also see that I have references in here sometimes to like steps 3 through 41. Anytime I have in parentheses steps 3 through 41 or any other steps, what that is telling you where you can find things in the lab. Where you'll see it most is frequently I will teach you how to do something, and then I'll move on to another section, and then I'll have an instruction in the lab that says, okay, go do that thing again. And that's an entire step, is go do it again. I don't necessarily expect that you remember how to do it. So in the notes section, I add a reference that says if you don't remember how to do this, just go back to steps 10 through 12 or something like that. Whatever the steps are, whatever the numbers are, it will tell you where to find that information so that you can go do it again. So if you remember how to do it, great. If you don't, I tell you where to find that information in your lab. All right, so the way this lab is set up is you will see that there is a number for every single step. The section right here talks about what step you should do, what action should you take. And then over in here, I use this section for what you should see after you've done the step over here, some additional information, some things that are nice to know, other things that are really important. You can step through the entire lab only reading this section. It is possible. I do, however, recommend that you do read the things over on the notes section, just because that's me talking to you and explaining things a little bit further. So step number, this is what you need to do, and this is some other information about what you just did, what you need to know about it, some options, things like that. Now, what I do typically with all of these steps, and this is why even though it's a 20-page lab, it's really truly not that bad. With this particular step, step number 6, I say on the background window, so obviously in the previous step, a background window pops up. So on the background window, and this is a window, and this is the window called background. Click on the circle button. I put in bold letters things that you're supposed to specifically click on, go to. Bold is usually used specifically to say, click on this. And then I've provided you with a picture of it and put a red square around that button. So this is the circle button that I want you to click on. So on the background window, this is the background window, click on the circle button, this thing right here. You're going to click on that button, which is to the right of color. So see, to the right of color, there's your word color. And you're going to click on that button to select a new background color. What this over here is telling you is that when you click on this button, this window will show up. And this is what it's going to look like. So the color selector window will open with solid. See this solid tab right here? Solid color options on top. Now you'll see later that there's a gradient that you can click on that's a tab. But right now I'm just telling you that when you click on this button, this is the window that comes up. It's on the solid tab, and these are the colors. So then the next step says, now that this thing is open, I want you to click on the color selector window, which is this, and then click on gradient. And you'll see that I put a red square around gradient. And then over here, this is what happens as a result of the action you took over here. The gradient tab will come to the top of the window. So right now you see solid colors. When you click on gradient, you will see gradient options. So that's how this lab works. Now, the way these videos work is that for each segment, like let's say moving title and bullet text boxes, you'll see a video that says steps 9 through 12, and it will be titled Move Title and Bullet Text Boxes. So if you start with these steps 9 through 12, and you get to step 10, and you have a question, and you don't understand what my instruction was or what it is that I have you looking at, what you do is you open up that video, and you play that video, you find where you are, and you see what I'm talking about. I will be able to give you additional information on how to do some of what I tell you to do, what it looks like when I have you do those things. So that's how these videos are all going to work. So if you have any questions, you can email me. You can come to the classroom Zoom sessions, and I'll be there live and can answer any questions you have. And I will do everything I can to help you. And I've been very successful at doing this online and over the phone, so I can't imagine that I can't answer questions in email or in Zoom.